Hello everyone, this is Kaizouwar here, and I recently just beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I have a lot to say, and I don't want the video to be too long, but it's the only way I can get all my thoughts out, so yeah, I just want to make this a little podcast-style video with just one person. But I feel like it's better to get my thoughts out like this, rather than a kind of a scripted video where I feel just kind of wooden and hollow about things. I think my experience with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is best said through just me rambling about it, because I really want to talk about it. So I guess I can start with my history for the game, right? Now, I didn't start getting interested in the Xenoblade at all until the trailer for 3 came out, for like the very first trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And that trailer really caught my attention. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know any of the characters. I didn't know anything about Xenoblade Chronicles. But that one trailer really got my interest, and I don't know how it did. I don't know why it did, but I feel like it just kind of clicked for me to say, hey, I might as well try some Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So I got Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then I got Definitive Edition later, and I plan to get 3 whenever it comes out, or if I ever have the money to do so. But my history with the Xeno series is, yeah, I've played Xenogears, love the game, lovely game. I might make a video about Xenogears someday, but that's a long game, and I have to remember all my notes. And I've played all 3 episodes of Xenosaga, so I am very familiar with the Monolith Soft / Tetsuya Takahashi's or Saga's, all their works. I am very familiar with them before Xenoblade, so there's that. And I definitely was excited to play Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, a lot of people told me at first that playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 wasn't the best idea to start with my journey. But then it was like mixed, you know? A lot of people say, like, oh, if you need to play Xenoblade Chronicles 1 to get the full experience for 2, or there's only some things that will make sense if you play Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And I thought about that for a bit, but considering it took me, like, it took me a bit of a gap between getting 2 and Definitive Edition, I kind of just said, you know, screw it, might as well just play 2, you know? I would play it to get out of the way. A lot of people did tell me that it's okay to play 2, you know, but it says like there's some things you would like, you know, it's best to play the first game to have some context. But you know, I understood that, and like as the game started to, you know, go towards the end, I understood why. I will talk about that later, but as the game started near its end, I understood why I had to play Xenoblade Chronicles 1. But it didn't ruin the experience for me. Honestly, you can still play 2 without playing 1, but you know, playing 1 is also a good thing as well. So yeah, I guess I can talk about my experience. Okay, I'm gonna say this before I go any further in the video. I have not played Torna of the Golden Country yet. I have not played Torna. Now, I understand that some of my points that I bring up have been fixed in Torna. Just like I haven't played Torna doesn't mean I haven't seen videos and, you know, people talking about Torna. But I haven't touched Torna of the Golden Country myself. Someday when I do, I will make a video about Torna, just solely about Torna. And I also haven't done a New Game Plus run. This is my first playthrough, my thoughts of my first playthrough, all the way till I beat the final boss and did some maybe unique monsters at the end of that. I haven't done any post-game content yet, and I will make more videos about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in this fashion someday, but yeah. I also played the game up to, what, 100 plus hours so far, like past 100 hours. So yeah, that's my experience so far. I kind of just meandered a little bit within the middle of the game. I feel like I could have beat it far earlier, but like I was just trying to come to grips with the combat and everything. I will talk about the combat later, but I will say that the combat itself didn't kick in for me until like 70 hours in the game. But I will talk about that in a minute. So yeah, let's actually get on with the beginning of this video. This was the beginning, but I definitely want to talk about the characters, the combat, pros and cons. I kind of like to split my video up in little segments. This was the history and my experience part of the video. Then I'll split the next one, split the segment up into the characters and stuff like that, so on and so forth. So yeah, let's get on with the characters of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think it's good to start with each character one by one, and I guess I should start splitting the characters from the human characters to the Blade characters to others and the villains, all that kind of junk. So let's start with the human characters of your party. I want to start talking about Rex, because Rex is from what I've seen to other people, a very divisive character. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people like him, some people are in the middle, that kind of thing. I don't really hear him talked up about much about other Xeno protagonists. Like, you hear a lot of people talk about how they love Shulk, right? You hear a lot of people talk about how they like, characters like Cosmos, or I don't know, I really don't think people like Shion Uzuki from Xenosaga all that much, but I know people like Faye Fong Wong from Xenogears, that kind of thing. So I was coming into this game without any kind of like, I mean, I didn't know people's fan perception of these characters before I jumped in. I kind of just jumped in blindly, so I can form my own opinion about these characters without, people bleeding their opinions into mine and that mixing all up, you know what I mean? So I wanted to figure out what these characters were like as I jumped in. Rex was actually a pretty enjoyable character to me personally. I really loved seeing how he grew from his humble beginnings on top of Gramps' back, all the way to making it to the end of the game where he became the master driver and met the architect and eventually helped save the world. And it was, and Rex, I will admit that at points I kind of just felt Rex was a little bit not hitting for me, like like he's like, oh, I'm fighting for my friends, all that junk. Like I don't mind that kind of protagonist. Because, I mean, look at me, I love Kingdom Hearts to death. But it's kind of like, I get what Rex is coming from. He really didn't have anyone at first. Well, he did. I mean, he had his friends back on the Fawn set. But he never really had anyone he could go on a journey with, that kind of thing. But it's nice to see how I can't say how real Rex feels, but I feel like how developed he feels from the beginning. He feels like a completely different person he feels like a completely different person from the beginning of the game, while not also losing what he was, that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed him throughout, because you definitely see how deaths of people affected him, how he really feels, how sometimes he feels super powerless to change the event. Like, Rex is a strong person, he's a very good fighter, but there are some things that he just can't do. And like, it kind of put that idea in his head. It's like, okay, well, he has the Aegis now, so he can do anything, But it throughout the game, where people die and people are suffering a lot of loss, it really shows that he's just a kid at the end of the day. Just because he has the Aegis and all this power doesn't mean he can do everything. And there are some points in the game like, yeah, I think that him doing all these crazy feats and everything kind of bloats his ego up a bit. And then once it comes shattering down, you really feel like he's holding some pain deep inside of him. And I definitely feel that through Rex. A lot of people also talked about how they don't like his voice actor. His English voice actor. And at points in the game, I will admit that Rex's delivery was I think that's a problem with nearly every character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The voice direction is inconsistent, very inconsistent. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, because I definitely loved their voices, but voice direction for these characters is very inconsistent, and I think that I don't know if there was like some issues. I know Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had some troubling development due to Breath of the Wild coming out, made by Monolith Soft had to help with Breath of the Wild, so I can understand like that had affected the game's production and development. So I can understand. That doesn't really help in some cases, because Rex does come off very weird in some cases. His voice comes off very flat. Very off. It's hard to describe, because some of his like reactions to like very deep moments should be deep, like should like have like a bigger impact. My first example is like when like he confronts Jin and Malos in that boss fight, and then like he's screaming about he's screaming about how he was going to take Pyra and throw it to Elysium. That comes off very weird, and a lot of people meme the shit out of that scene. But yeah, that's probably numero uno. And there's also sometimes when Rex screams like during the cutscenes, like like he comes off like, yeah, the voice direction comes off very bad. But when the moments that Rex's voice actor comes through, they really come through. When he's talking, he sounds perfectly fine in cases. Like when he tries to emote, it's like 50-50. When he emotes, sometimes it comes off very bad, but other times he comes off really good. And he did get better in Smash. You hear what little you could hear of Rex in Smash Bros. You can definitely hear that his voice actor is definitely improved. He sounds more energetic. But nah, Rex is he's very weird. He comes off very weird at times, but the voice direction definitely improves from the beginning of the game all the way to the end of it. You definitely hear that Rex improved a lot in voice direction, and that goes for like every character as well. But like definitely with Rex, a lot of people don't like his voice actor. A lot of people really do not like Rex's English voice, and I can't agree with that. It's fine. It's not like anything mind-blowing. There's some points where like, yeah, I'm just not vibing with him. But other times, it's okay. It's okay. I can say it's a middle of the road. It could have been better, but it's okay for what it is. It's okay what it is. Next up on the quote-unquote human sides of the party, we have Nia. Now, Nia at first, a lot of people, I think I saw more fan opinions about Nia than anything else. People love Nia. I haven't seen a single person that I've seen play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 like hate Nia. And at first, I wasn't really feeling Nia at first. I was like, huh, Welsh cat girl, that's interesting. You know, that was probably my first thoughts of her at first. I was like, huh, this is an interesting voice for this character. But it was like the best choice they could have think of, because like I really love her English voice actress. Like, Nia's English voice transcends humanity. Let's just say that. It completely transcends humanity. But for her character at first, I really wasn't feeling her. But you can definitely see that there's something off about Nia at first, right? Like, it's not like anything bad or anything. You see, like, you know, there's some things that are up with her, you know? There's more to her than all of this. And seeing her interactions with the party, I think, like, Nia, besides Zeke, I think, has the best interactions with the party because she bounces off everyone so well. I really think she has probably my favorite characterization in the entire game because she bounces off everyone so well. It doesn't matter the situation they're in. And Nia is a very well-developed character. I really love seeing her journey from the beginning, how she just feels so, you know, standoffish to people, to where she starts generally caring about the party, generally caring about their well-being. I mean, she is the healer of the party. And she starts generally caring about their well-being, starts, you know, opening up to Rex more, eventually falling in love with him she actually takes rejection pretty well, which I really like. I think the scene where Rex rejects Nia is like, it's been memed. But I think that's like, seeing how quickly she bounces back from being rejected, I think that's really shows how strong Nia is as a character. Nia holds some pain deep inside, but Nia is like a very strong character. She's very, you know, she has a very, she just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, she's just a very strong character. Seeing her interactions and seeing how she bounces off everyone, how well she interacts with others, how her development, how she reveals that she was a flesh eater, and how revealing her past was like, damn, man. Like Nia goes through a lot of shit in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I really feel for her. I can see why people really love her so much, because like at first I just didn't vibe with her. At first when I was like playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and I was taking screenshots to chronicle my journey, I just mostly took pictures of her face because she made the funniest expressions. Oh yeah, that's another thing. She has the best expressions in the game, no doubt. But anyway, I mostly took like pictures of her face. I was like, she's funny, you know, cat girl, funny faces, funny animations, all that junk. But like, I was like, nah, like Nia's actually pretty cool. She's actually a pretty damn good character. Like after a while, I was like, oh shit, she has a blade form now. After a while, I was like, nah, but I need my healer. Like, I'm that kind of person who just needs a healer on our party. And yeah, I could turn any of my party members into healers, but Nia was like the best one I had. So I was like, okay, well, I want her blade form, but at the same time, I want her as my party member. I heard people say like Nia isn't top tier or whatever. I don't do blade tier lists or anything. I just pick characters and just throw them on my party. But yeah, yeah, that's that. So yeah, Nia's a pretty damn good character. I really enjoy her. I really enjoy her voice actress. Like again, her voice actress transcends humanity. And honestly, I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 wouldn't be the same without her, you know? I feel like if you just removed her from the party and replaced her with someone else, this game just wouldn't have been the same, you know? I think out of like the entire party, she's like my favorite of everyone, next to Pyra. I really enjoy Pyra, but I won't talk about her just yet. But Nia, I think that Nia's a real surprise. At first, I wasn't even planning to like her at first. I thought she was going to be like, you know, probably the worst character in the game. That's my original thought was. I was like, oh my gosh, she's probably gonna be super annoying, be a jerk to everyone. I was like, no, I generally did like her. Like Nia's a pretty fun character. She's like, you know, she's always the best person to have around, and I really like her. I really do like Nia. I'm so glad that, you know, I see why people like her. Again, I can see why people really like Nia. You know, she's really... Now, the one sad thing about Nia, and this ain't the fault of Nia, it's like Dromark. But I will talk about Dromark in a bit, but like, I feel like Dromark definitely deserved the same kind of characterization Nia got. But, you know, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Because I got to talk about the blades. The next character up is Tora. I don't know what to think about Tora. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was my very first introduction to the Nopon characters, and I don't know what people think about the Nopon characters. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I heard a lot of people like them. But when I went, Tora is not, okay, let me just get this out of the way. Tora is not a bad character, but when you stack him up against all the other party members, including the Blades, it just feels like Tora's lacking in characterization, right? Like, I like, a lot of people like to bring up like Tora's whole, you know, maid fetish, where he's like dressing up Poppy and everything. I'm like, I'm kind of desensitized to that kind of shit, because like, okay, just a Japan anime game, so of course that's going to happen in some fashion or whatever, some bullshit. So I wasn't really going, you know, going like, oh no, Tora's a bad person, he's weird. Like, I just kind of just desensitized to that shit. Yeah, it's weird, but like, I say it ain't the worst thing I've seen ever in my life. But Tora's just, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to feel about the guy. I don't hate him, but I don't particularly think much of him, you know? Like, first of all, I find the Nippon dialect kind of grating at times. Like, it's like interesting. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, sometimes when you hear the characters like get louder, like the Nippon characters get louder and more emotional, they kind of break the dialect. But when I hear Tora talk, I'm like, okay, Tora's kind of funny. But like, actually, I'm like, he's all right. I don't know. I never really thought too much on Tora. Like, as I like played the game, I was like, oh man, Tora's gonna have his big moment. It's like, yeah, he did have his big moment, but it wasn't really the moment I was expecting. Like, where he meets his dad. And like during the whole thing where like they meet Chairman Bana, or Bana, my bad, and there's like Giga Rosa. Like, I was like, I was like, yeah, like, well, it's okay. Like, Tora's not a bad character by any means. I know a lot of people don't like him all that much. From what I see, again, my whole fan, like me seeing fans what they think about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I really haven't made like a poll on that. I kind of want to make a poll on. And I want to make that poll before I get into Torna, but yeah, I never really thought much about Torna. I'm sorry, Torna. See, it's sorry, I keep saying Torna and Tora, like they're too close to each other. Anyway, but yeah, I really don't think about Tora, think too much about Tora, so I never really used them too much in my party. I know like characters like Poppy Cutie Pie was like really busted in the game, but I didn't even get Poppy Cutie Pie until post game. Like, I just didn't have the energy to do any more side quests at that point, so I was like, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna wait till I beat the game and get her. And I still didn't use Tora, because I just never really understood how he worked and how the other Poppies worked, but I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna use Morag for my tank. Just let her just bust out that aggro and just avoid all the attacks with her evasion skills. But yeah. Yeah, poor Tora. I don't know. I never thought too much about Tora. I don't know. I don't know. I think I start to care more about Poppy than Tora. And I think that's still a good thing. I still cared about enough about the Blades. You know, if sometimes the characters aren't up to snuff, then maybe their Blades will be. So yeah, poor Tora. I really don't think too much of him. I don't want to run this point into the ground any further. Just, he's okay. He's there. So yay, Tora. And since he was a party member for a little bit, I do have to talk about Vandam. Vandam is that one character that I really wasn't expecting to like all that much. At my first impression of him, he's like, okay, he's gonna be like this really tough military kind of like dude, where he's just going around, maybe he's like trying to be like rude to other people, you know, not rude, my bad, like trying to block us, trying to prevent us. But no, after you beat him, he's actually very cool and very respectable, and then he takes you back to the mercenary HQ. And you really see a lot of layers through Vandam. Honestly, his characterization was so good. I really wanted him to be a permanent party member. I really wanted him to stick around and see what was more of him, you know? And, you know, obviously obviously this is a whole video, spoiler alert, I forgot to say that at the beginning of the video, but yeah, he dies. So Vandam does die. And I really felt for him, because you could definitely tell that Vandam was a very, like, really well-developed character. He reminded me of, like, Andrew Trekhov from Xenosaga Episode 1. Where, like, this character doesn't stick around too long, but there's a lot of character to them. They make you care about them so fast. These characters aren't a slow burn. They really get you to like them. And then, like, Vandam's words to Rex about how, like, you know, about war, and about how trying to take care of other people, and how you have to fight when you need to. Like, that kind of thing just really hit me in a way, because you definitely feel Vandam has been through a lot. Even when you haven't seen it in, like, maybe cutscenes or whatever, like, Vandam has been through a lot. He knows a lot. He's like the perfect person to tell these younger characters about the world and how it works. And I really, really respected him. Now, it sucks that he dies so early in. You only see him for like that one chapter, and he dies in the same chapter. But like, I really feel like he's made a huge impact despite how short he was. And I feel kind of bummed out that they don't really mention much of Vandam like later in the game. I get it, they show like flashbacks, you know, Rex does see some flashbacks of how Van Damme's dying and other characters, you know, think about that. But I really feel as though like Van Damme's like presence should have, you know, been around more. I know, like Rex should have thought about him more as time was going on. You know, I don't know why. I just feel like that. Like, yeah, we see like visions and shit of Van Damme just a little bit, but I feel like his impact should have been, you know, felt more. You know, but I guess it was like that situation where like, you know, there had to be no words said about this character. We know their impact. We know what they meant to these other characters. I just really feel as if Van Damme's, you know, words and presence should have stuck around more longer in the game than it did. You know. At least in the end parts where like maybe Rex could have thought about his worth more as he was approaching the end of the game. I really would have felt like that would have been better. But Van Damme was a character I wasn't really expecting to like at all. I saw his design and I was like, oh god, why is he so weird looking? But like, but over time I just started to like really care about this guy. And I thought, damn man, I really wish he stuck around longer than just a single chapter. But yeah, Van Damme was a pretty damn good dude. And I'm sad to know what the hell the Van Damme of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, how the hell he's gonna end up. Next up is Morag. Okay, so just like Van Damme, at first Morag was that kind of character. I was like, oh gosh, she is going to be the worst, right? I kept thinking like, okay, she's gonna be the very strict military kind of like person where like, you know, she doesn't take anything. She takes everything completely seriously. She doesn't joke around. She's just not fun. I can deal with those characters as long as they have a more comically serious angle to them. You know, like if you got like an ultra serious character, they have to like have some way of, you know, having me enjoy them just being completely serious. Like I need like an angle to bounce them off of. Maybe they'll crack a joke, or maybe they'll make some funny, or maybe some funny will happen to them, but they won't even think it's funny, that kind of thing. But Morag really changed as time went on. You know, like at first I was like, oh man, she is going to be like she's really going to be just like the worst person ever. I thought I really didn't vibe with Morag at first when she was introduced, but I was like, oh, okay, maybe she'll work out. Maybe I'll just like, you know, just give her a chance, you know. But over time, I was like, oh my god, Morag is a really damn good character. Like she's the mature one of the party. I mean, well, you got Zeke, but like she's more mature than Zeke. Let's just say that. And then you definitely see more of Morag and like see how much layers she has to the character. Now, granted, she doesn't get much in the way of development compared to like the other characters, like, you know, for example, like Rex or Nia. Like Morag doesn't have like a big, like, she has an arc, but she doesn't have like the arc that's like put on main focus, right? Like, but I get it. Like her arc is like, you know, focused more on the people. She kind of represents the people of like more than like the world of Xenoblade. To me, at least, she represents like, you know, the high up people and how she understands like the lower people and that kind of thing. Like you see how much her opinion changes. Like, you know, she's trying to be the best driver out there. She's devoted her life to be at that. But at the same time, you're like, you see these sides of her. You know, she sees more sides. She's not just like this strict person. She's not this strict person all the time. She has a very soft spot, right? She has a very soft spot for, you know, people like her cousin, like, you know, Niall, and that kind of thing. You could definitely tell she really cares. And you definitely see her goofier sides and like heart to hearts and stuff like that, where like she tries to tell a joke and she just comes off completely flat. You definitely see like in other heart to heart events where like she's like a complete dork, like she's trying to act super serious about everything, but she has no idea what she's doing. I really find that like very funny, you know. I really find that very funny, and I pretty much like that, you know. I like, granted, you don't see that much in the story. Like the main story, but I like to see how these heart to hearts put her in like these situations where like she tries to do the situations in her own way, but she's just too serious, you know. And I like that. I like that whole comically serious kind of angle. And I also like to see how her relationship compared to characters like, you know, Zeke go. Cause like, you know, she's like, you know, she at first I kept thinking that her and Zeke were like more like this kind of thing where like, you know, she has like no business dealing with Zeke. She has like no patience for the guy, but they actually get along pretty well. Like more than I thought they would have. You know, they get along more than I thought they would have. Like they bounce off each other very well. And I also like to see how Morag thinks of Rex as time goes on. She puts a lot of faith and stock into him, and I really like that. You know, I think that's very sweet. You know, I don't know why. Like I like to see like how Morag feels like this big sister of sorts to Rex, and how she essentially like I don't know. I just like she has a soft spot for the little guy. You know, I like that. Like she see how strong he is. Like she see how like she sees how what you call it, how like good he is as a character, how good he is like a morally upright character, and I really liked it. I think that's very nice. I really think that's very nice. More as a person, I never thought I would like it all, but like seeing how she relates to the other characters and how she bounces off of them and how the situations she's thrown in are very funny. How like she tries to approach every situation in her whole serious way, and sometimes it just does not work. I really find that funny. And she's also a very good source of wisdom for the other characters in the party. She's like the adult of the party, and I really like that. And the last party member of the human section I get before we get to the Blades is Zeke von Genbu. I fell in love with this guy the moment he was introduced. Zeke was a goofball. Like, I remember seeing pictures of Zeke at first, right? I saw pictures of Zeke, and I thought, oh my god, he's gonna be like this. Maybe he's gonna be like this very like epic, cool party member. We always have to have that cool party member who's like badass and at everything they do, and they look cool. But no, Zeke is a goddamn like goober. Like, I wasn't expecting like him to act the way he does. Like, not only he's a goober, but he's very insightful. He's like he's very smart. You definitely see like he's very smart and knowledgeable and very serious underneath the whole goofy aspect of him. And I really like that. I wasn't expecting to like Zeke as much as I was. And he does get his arc, and I really enjoyed how well he interacts with the other characters, how like much of an older brother figure he seems. Like, he's that kind of guy you could definitely come to wisdom, but also get a smile from when you ever meet. Like, he's like that kind. He's just that kind of dude, and I really enjoyed like his interactions with like Pandoria, how much of a goofball he is, how sometimes he just cannot. He's very he's like incompetent at the things he does, but at the same time he's like super competent at the things he does. Like I don't know why Zeke is an anomaly of a character, and I think like he really works. He really works, and I don't know, man. Zeke's just the funniest character ever, man. He's just so funny. All his heart-to-hearts make me laugh. Like, he just has the best interactions with several characters, and like I just was not expecting to like him as much as I did. I think like Zeke is one of my favorite party members. Like, I don't really use him in battle all that much. I mean, there was like a point where I was forced to use him in battle. But yeah, like he's just the coolest character in the game. Like, I think I'd say he's just the coolest character in the game. Thunderbolt Zeke is just like the best dude ever as shit, dude. Like, and I remember like they had like, this joke of like him having the eye of shining justice, right? And like Pandora's like, oh no, well he just wears a high patch because he couldn't afford anything else or something like that. And like the eye of shining justice is actually a goddamn thing in New Game Plus. Now, I haven't played New Game Plus, but I am aware of this, where the Eye of Shining Justice is a actual goddamn mechanic in the game, and I just find that really, really funny. I just find that like, wow, you guys just didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that at all. They just took like something that was like an in-universe meme and just turned that into like an actual mechanic. I think I love that, and I like that whole reveal that he's like a Blade Eater as well. Like that was like a part of Zeke I wasn't expecting to see. Like, he was a Blade Eater because he was like, freaking really badly injured like in the past game, and like Pandoria's part of her core crystal was implanted into him by a Malthus. I think that was really, really funny. And like, I think one of my funniest moments with Zeke is like where like I try to remember what this was. It was a heart-to-heart, and he was talking through I can't remember, Pandoria and Mithra. I think that might be it. And was it I know it had evolved Mithra. I know it was Zeke and Mithra. And Zeke was talking about how his favorite food was like Adam's like ember cakes. And then like Mithra was like, oh well, dude, I was like with Adam back in the day, and he wouldn't eat this stuff. And Zeke's like whole worldview is just shattered on Adam, because like she says like, oh, Adam hated spicy food, and like Mithra's like, it was a shame, it was bull. Like, there was no way he liked that. I was there. And Zeke just freaking has a mental breakdown that his hero did not like spicy food. And I was like, what? But I like this food because Adam liked it. And it was perfect. It was all of it was just perfect. I loved it. I loved it. Zeke was a very good character, and I'm so glad that he's just in the game. Again, like characters like Nia, and it goes for Zeke well. Zeke as well. Like, these characters, this game wouldn't have worked so well if these characters weren't here, I swear. Like, the characters really make Xenoblade 2. Like, I just want to say that before I leave the human section. These characters really make this game come alive, you know? And I feel like all the events in the game wouldn't have worked as well if these characters weren't as developed and weren't as good as they were. And now, so we move past the human section, now we get to the Blade section. Now, I'm only counting the main Blade party members, so characters like Angeon won't count. Characters like Rock or Angeon, they don't count because they're not like... Yeah, you get them for your, like, the main story Blades, but I'm not counting them because they're, like, full-on main party Blades, if you know what I mean. So I guess we can start off with Pyra and Mythra. I'm counting them both together since, you know, they're always treated together in cases, so I'm counting them both together. I guess I can start with Pyra. Pyra was already one of my favorite characters right off the bat. She has this kind, motherly attitude that I just really like in characters. She's super nice, you know. She's just like when you see some dork side, but you can also see you get dorky side to her. But you can also see like this really deep sadness underneath her, and I think that really comes into play when you see her when we go back to Fawnset, and you see how like Pyra just feels like, you know, I'm just dragging Rex into all this, you know. He's gonna suffer more if I'm around him. Maybe I shouldn't exist in the first place. And I was like, damn, Pyra, why'd you do me like that? Like, I almost cried, dude, because I really enjoyed Pyra's character, and like I just felt so sad for her because you definitely tell she's really nice. You know, Pyra's a very sweet character. She's such a nice character, and seeing how like sad she really is on the inside kills my chest, man. It always kills me when you see these very nice characters and they're always like, you can definitely tell they're like, you can't tell, but they're definitely putting on like a facade of sorts, right? You definitely see like they're trying their best to be nice in this very harsh situation they find themselves in, but they just have like this deep sadness in them, and I really felt that through Pyra. It hurts me so bad, like. And like, you know, after Mythra's introduced, you don't get to see much of Pyra. I mean, she's there obviously, but like, you don't see much of her you know, in like cutscenes and stuff like that. But like, knowing that Pyra's like a defense mechanism because Mythra there's like some things Mythra doesn't want to handle about the world. It reminded me of like Xenogears, where like Faye and Id. I don't know if like anybody ever thought about this whole thing, and I feel like, you know, maybe I'm just like reading too much into it, but it reminds me of Faye and Id, where like, you know, like, or not just Id, but like Faye's personalities were like Id just has these personalities created because he doesn't want to face the world, or like Faye doesn't have these personalities because he doesn't want to face the world, and like, you know, he's throwing all this hate and sadness and everything he doesn't want to deal with on Id, and I think that's really, I think like Pyra and Mythra had that whole Faye and Id and the coward kind of like relationship. That's me. That's what I felt like after I played Xenogears recently again. But yeah, Pyra's a very good character. I really enjoyed her, and I really enjoyed their development, and like just to see how like suicidal Pyra and Mythra really are. Like, it's just like, damn, man. Like, at first I wasn't expecting, like, you know, a lot of people I've seen kind of just don't know anything about Pyra and Mythra. Like, some people like just like the designs, or like just like the way they look, and I can respect that. But like, I feel like people really need to see who they are, because they really are like some of the best characters in the game. And like when the story like gets to their deeper moments, you really feel that. Like, it just hurts so bad. Now, moving on to Mythra, I'm not gonna lie to people, I didn't think much of Mythra. I kind of still don't, be honest. Even after all her stuff, Mythra came off to me at first like very standoffish and everything. I know like that comes from Torna. Like, Torna's like, she's completely different in Torna. Like, you know, she has like a different you know, feel to her in Torna. Again, I haven't played Torna yet, but base Xenoblade Chronicles 2, she didn't get good to me until near the end. I didn't like Mythra. I don't hate Mythra. She's just that kind of character I'm just like, I don't care much for, you know? Like, compared to Pyra, like, I like Pyra far better than Mythra. I'm just gonna say that. Team Pyra. Like, when they gave you the option to choose a name from Numa, I chose Pyra. Like, I just don't... Like, Mythra got better for me as time went on. Don't get me wrong about that. She got way better for me after on. Seeing her introduction and seeing how she acted towards Rex, after the death of Van Damme just like kind of soured her to be the moment. And like the whole anime, like the whole anime bullshit with her like in bed with Rex, I kind of just dealt with that. That wasn't anything. Like I saw a lot of people, they don't like that scene, but I'm like, dude, this is the anime game. You can't look at me in the eye and tell me that this ain't gonna happen at one point or another. But Mithra, I'm just like, eh. Like she got way better as time went on, and she actually became the one party member I just like relied on the most, because like Mithra just had like, she just felt the most fun to play. And like I liked her gameplay wise, character wise, I was like, eh, I could take her or leave her. Like again, she got way better for me as time went on, you know, seeing how she felt about the world and seeing how, you know, she acted towards everything. But Mithra, I'm just like, eh. Pyra was like, I just enjoyed Pyra much better. I just enjoyed Pyra much better as a character than Mithra. I'm gonna be real with you on that one. Mithra got better, I will admit that. She got better, and hopefully I get to see more of her, more sides of her in Torna when I get the chance to play it, when I get a chance to actually get it. But yeah, I think Team Pyra. I like, for me, okay, this is how it goes. Pyra to me is the better character, but Mithra to me has better gameplay. So yeah, that's just like, they balance themselves out. Okay, so now I can finally talk about Dromark. Dromark is I don't know what to feel about Dromark. Like, he's a very well respectable blade. He's a very kind person. You know, he has a lot of wisdom on his end. You know, but like, I just feel like Dromark doesn't have a character arc he goes through. Like, compared to the other blades, like the other main story blades, where you get to know more about them and know how they relate to their partners, or how they relate to the world around them. Dromark just doesn't really get much, you know? And I feel bad for him in a case, because I feel like Dromark could have a very good character arc. But no, he gets nothing, and I feel bad for him. Like, he's mostly attached to Nia, and even then, he doesn't get his own, like, arc. Like, with the other characters, you used to like, oh yeah, Pyra and Mithra, they've been through the stuff in 500 years ago. Or, like, you see characters like Pandoria, how she relates to Zeke, or Bridget, and how she's, like, has, like, a book of her past, and how she wants to remember things about her past, and wants to know what her person she was like back then, that kind of thing. But, and also Poppy. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Poppy in a minute, but Dromark just has nothing. He has nothing, and I feel so, like, I don't even know what to say about him. I like Dromark, but he definitely got shafted. He definitely got the worst end of it all. He definitely did get nothing compared to the other blades, like the other like main party blades. Dromark's characterization is by far the weakest, because he definitely, for me personally, he definitely deserved more than what he got. That's really all I can say. I had nothing to say about Dromark. And plus I heard that Dromark is like not one of the best party members in the game, and I was like, damn, dude, that's, like, he was fine for me, but like, I never really thought too much of him. I just used him because I had Nia on my party. I kind of feel like I needed to, so. Yep, poor Dromark. He just got nothing. He's got nothing. Next up is Poppy. Now, Poppy, like base Poppy, I guess Poppy Alpha. I enjoyed her the moment she was activated. She's such an adorable character. Her interactions with Tora and the other characters are just so wholesome, you know? But she also has this sass to her in small occasions where she's, like, she has this innocence to her, but at the same time, she has this innocence where, like, she can, like, talk smack, and, like, you look at the screen and you're like, what did she just say? Like, there's some times, like, Poppy just, like, I don't know why. She's just the baby. She's just the baby of the party, and I love it. Like, she has the best animations. Like, you see how, like, some of her stiff animations come out because she's, like, a robot, you know? But she's like super adorable. I love Poppy. She's so cute, and, like, I don't know, man. She's just the best character in the game. No one can tell me otherwise. She's the best character in the game. She's, like, all her other forms, they look cooler to me personally, but, like, there's nothing that can beat Poppy Alpha. Yeah, I like Poppy, what was it, Poppy QT, and it's like Poppy QT Pie, which QT Pie I didn't even get to, like, the end of the game. But, well, sorry, after the end of the game. But yeah, I don't know, man. Poppy Alpha was just, like, seeing her development really kick in at the end of the game, where she made that promise with Mithra, and how she just couldn't, I'm starting to cry again thinking about it, but, like, seeing her promise to Mithra and seeing how she told Rex that she couldn't break it, I was like, bro, like, the voice work there. The voice work by Arena Lee, I think that's her name. Arena E or Arena Lee? No, I think Arena E. I can't remember. But, like, hearing that voice work come from Poppy of all people, hurts so much, dude. That shit was like, it's like the way she spoke up, and like just it was so heartbreaking, dude. I literally started to nearly cry on the scene because like, bro, not Poppy, man. She's like the most like upbeat character, and like the upbeat, happiest character, most positive one in the character. But like, it just, damn it, man, it kills me. It killed me so hard. But also seeing her upgraded forms and how you know, she actually inherits the Nopon dialect because she was created by Tora. I think that's actually super cute. I think that's really cute as well. But like, just damn, dude, and like seeing it like carry over to Poppy Cutie Pie is just like funny as hell. And speaking of Poppy Cutie Pie, I will say this: I actually get a chance to talk about Tiger now. Tiger is a fun minigame, but having that be the only way you can upgrade Poppy is just like, why? You know, why? I just don't like that. I'm just not a fan of it. I mean, I don't hate like Tiger, but at the same time, just like, I don't want to upgrade the characters, you know, that kind of thing. And it just kind of sucks because like Poppy Cutie Pie is actually busted, or she's like the best character, the best party member in the game, the best blade in the game. I was like, damn it. Should have played that Tiger. But yeah, I got her, and I don't know what to do with her. I guess I gotta play a lot of Tiger, so yay. I heard you guys, you can also upgrade her in New Game Plus, which I hope to do someday. You know, I hope to do that someday, because I have other games to play right now, and I don't have time to do it since I've been working a lot. But the point is, yeah, I think Poppy is like one of my favorite party members in general, because like Poppy Alpha is just, she's just such a good character, such a good party member to have around. And like the thing about Poppy is that she's more of like, she's better than Tora. Like, I'm just gonna say that right now. She should have been the main party member instead of Tora. Tora should have been the blade. She should have been the main party member. I would say that to the ends of the earth. I don't think much about Poppy Cutie because you don't see much of her. And like, obviously you don't see much of her upgraded forms. So, you know, I can't really say much about that, you know, like story-wise. You really see their upgraded forms maybe like, I don't know, like, I think like post-game or like Heart to Heart. So yeah, that kind of thing as well. And plus, it's nice to see that Poppy had to literally go through a crash test, like a crash course in like school to upgrade herself to Poppy Cutie Pie. I think that's very, very funny. That's very cute. Like, she actually had to go to school. Like, they actually had to make her go to Nopon school. And I just think that's really funny. Yeah, Poppy, precious character. Wouldn't trade her for anything in the world. Next up is Bridget. Bridget has by far one of my favorite blade designs. Like seeing the color scheme. First of all, the color scheme on her is just the best. The purple and the like. She's a fire character, right? And he's like, oh yeah, blue flames are usually the hottest, and like she has this good color scheme of light blues and purples. It's like, it looks so cool. And on top of that, she has like these buns in her hair that are on fire. That is sick as shit. And plus the whole her having her eyes closed all the time really gives her a aura of mystique, you know, an aura of coolness and mystique. It's like, man, why are her eyes closed like that? You get to wondering, why is her eyes closed like that? Is that like a part of her design? Is there a reason for that? And sometimes when she does open her eyes throughout I think I've seen her open her eyes like twice throughout the main story. It's just like, whoa, she could do that? It's like, it makes you like, and granted, I wouldn't want her eyes open all the time, but like, she's like a mysterious character. And like, even her past is mysterious. Now, I know she's like in Torna, so you see more of her in Torna, but like she's like this mysterious character that you don't know much about, yet you know a lot of her. Like, she has like this little journal where she wrote down all the events she had. Like, throughout the years, she wrote stuff in like a little journal she wanted to keep by herself, so she could remember things about herself, even though she returns to her. Obviously, when blades die, they return to their core. Their drivers die or blades die, they return to their core crystal and be reborn with no memories. And I like the idea of like Bridget having like this little journal she writes so she can remember things about her past life. I think that's a very cool way of like having her ties to the past, while some other characters just don't remember anything, or like some characters just don't want to remember, like, you know, Pyra Myth or that kind of thing. So I think having that on her is like a good angle. as well. I think that's a really cool thing for Bridget. And plus, she's just an overall nice character, but she's also a character that you just wouldn't want to mess with, you know? Like, her relationship with Morag and seeing how well those two bounce off each other is actually pretty cool. You can definitely tell that they care for each other in, like, a way that, like, it's not love, but it's more like, you know, they definitely have, like, each other's backs throughout anything. And I think that's, like the ultimate friendship, that kind of thing. And I think that's very nice. And, you know, Bridget's like that kind of character. She's sort of like Dromark, where she's, like, left behind in regards to characterization. Like Bridget is just a cool character. You know, she looks cool, and she's very nice and very knowledgeable. And she's just an awesome character all around, you know? Again, I know you see more of her in Torna, and I'll have to get to that someday. I may make, like, a video about Torna where I just talk about all the party members. Just talk about how all the party members in Torna someday. But, like, Bridget's actually pretty cool. I like her. You know, she looks cool. Her whole, you know, the aura surrounding her is very mysterious. And she has a very cool English voice actress. That's very fitting for her character as well. So, yeah, good on you, Bridget. Oh, also learned that her Japanese voice actor, her Japanese name is Kagetsuchi, like the fire god in Shinto Japanese mythology, Kagetsuchi. Already get some points up there for me. I love mythology. I know a lot of Blade characters have, like, names tied to Japanese mythology, but, like, damn, dude, she's awesome. And the last party member I want to talk about in regards to the main Blade party members is Pandoria. Pandoria, I think like at first, like, you really see her like near Zeke, and like you see Zeke, every movement he does, she copies afterwards. And at first I thought that was really cute. Like, she, like, you know, she's willing to copy what he does, and I think that's very, very funny. Like, I don't know why. I always like that whole thing where, like, you have, like, a person who's, like, been with you so long to the point where, like, they started copying your mannerisms and your actions. I think that's very funny, and it shows that they've been with each other for a very long time. At first, Pandora, I was like, I really wasn't thinking much of her. She was just, like, this, you know, this playful character who just bounces off Zeke very well. But you actually, like, see more of her. You see more of her, and you see, like, you see how just, like, no respect she gets. I just feel like Pandora suffers more than Zeke, and it just really funny. And, like, she bounces off him very well. Like, you definitely tell that they care about each other very well. But you definitely tell that Pandora isn't taking, like, you definitely tell that she isn't going to take any of Zeke's shit. But at the same time, she just really likes hanging around with the guy. You definitely tell that, yeah, she has a crush on him. Like, it's, like, really obvious, or at least. It's like, you can definitely tell there's something up with Pandoria. And, like, you know, you see more characterization through her, and I think that's very cool. I just feel like, I don't know. I just like her. I just like her and, like, Zeke's relationship. Like, Pandora on her own, I feel like, you know, maybe Pandora is not my favorite on her own, but she's, like, definitely, like, very well with, like, other characters, and especially Zeke. I feel like those two by far have the best characterization together. Like, yeah, you got Morag and Bridget, you got Rex, Pyra, and Mithra, you got Tora and Poppy, Nia and Dromark. But I think, like, out of the whole Blade relationship to humans, I think Pandora and Zeke are the strongest. They really show the best of it. You know, she says, I go where you go in the story. And I just really like that. You know, and I also like to see, like, the desperation, like, in her face, and, like, the flashback they had when she was trying to get Zeke away from being hurt. And you have to hear the desperation, like, oh, I don't want to go back to my core crystal, I just want to stay with you, Zeke. And that also really hurt, because, like, you know, you really see how much these two care for each other, and you see how much they care for each other, how far it goes back. You know, it's just very wholesome. It's really wholesome, and I really love it. You know, those two just are the OTP, the one true pairing, the one true Blade and human relationship, Blade and driver relationship. But yeah, Pandora is pretty cool. I really like how she, like, bounces off Zeke, and how she just, it just works so well, you know? Like, I feel like it wouldn't work with any other character. It just works with them so well, because they've been around each other for so long. And if the story had, you know, if the story showed more, like, not showed more, my bad. If, like, the story had, like, a message where, like, you know, these Blade and driver relationships are, like, the pinnacle, I think those two are the pinnacle of Blade and driver relationship. I don't know where to put this section, but I guess I'm calling this the other section, where like these are characters that kind of don't fit into the roles I talked about, like, oh, the main Blades, the main characters. And these two characters are Azura, Gramps, and Fan Lenoren, aka Hayes. Now, Gramps, I really didn't think too much of him. Like, I just kind of just forgot he was like there half the time. Yeah, he's there for a good source of wisdom. I'm not a fan of his voice too well, and I just don't like his design. He's okay. I kind of liked him better when he was like a Titan still. But he's all right. I don't have much to say about him. He's all right, I guess. And it also goes to Fan Lenoren. Now, I gotta be really careful about what I say here about Hayes here, because most of her characterization is in Torna. But all I can say is I don't really think too much of her. Now, I get it, like, obviously I think she's much better in Torna. That's where you know much more of her. But in base Xenoblade 2, she's just kind of like, yeah. If she dies so fast, I'm like, okay, I'm like, cool. Like, I don't know. I'll have to play Torna. But from my experience with her in base XC2, she's just there. I don't feel anything for her. And at least in base Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I just don't feel anything for her. So, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, moving on. And to round off all the characters, we're going to talk about the bad guys. I guess I'll lump all the bad guys into this one little section here because most of the bad guys are just Torna. So, like, I guess I got to talk about them. I guess I can start with Jin. Jin, at first, I was not expecting to like at all. Jin was this character I was thinking, man, he's going to be this stoic, serious badass all the time who just, doesn't care for anything. And then, like, no, you actually see that he cares. Almost too much. And the fact that he cares too much threw him on this path in the first place. Now, even without playing Torna, I really seen, like, Jin has a lot of stuff going for him. At first, I didn't really think too much of him. At first. But I really started to like him as time went on, and he definitely really, really kicked in once you got the Mortha. Like, you really see how, like, well, granted, you've seen a lot of him at first, how much he cared about, like, Laura, how, like, you definitely see there's something more to Jin than what he shows on the surface, obviously. But yeah, Jin really came into his own as time went on, and having him as a temporary party member was actually pretty cool. Seeing him work with us was pretty cool. And, like, seeing the back and forth between Rex and him, and him and his ideologies with other characters, and how he believed, like, okay, why do we Blaze exist? Why do we Blaze exist? Why do we have to go through all this? Why do we have to go through our core crystals and come back? Like, I want to meet the architect and understand these things, that kind of thing. Like, you definitely feel like that Jin is going through a bit of existentialism, and you definitely want to know why he thinks the way he does. Why he has so many questions. He has so many questions, and he wants the answers to them now. And then, like, encountering, like, Rex and the other party members, just more of him out there. And I really, really, I don't know, man. Like, I never thought, I kept thinking, like, Jin was going to be, like, the main bad guy, right? The main bad, like, the final boss. And that came as a surprise where he kind of wasn't. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess Jin wouldn't, he's not like that. But yeah, I really liked Jin. I really liked how he grew into his own. I really liked seeing more of his characterizations, showing more of his hurt, showing more of how the hurt has driven these villains. And I think, like, it really exemplifies itself in the Jin, and how he even went to help us against Amalthus, and, like, how those two bounce off each other. And I think that was really, really good. Like, Jin is by far one of the best villains in Torna. Like, best villains out of the whole Torna group. And he's one of the best villains I've seen in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 so far. I've really enjoyed him so much. Like, he really came through at the end. I really wasn't expecting to like Jin, but he really came through at the end. He came in clutch, and I liked seeing more of him. I really liked it. Next up, the big boy himself, Malos. Malos was a character at first that I just didn't think too much of. Like, he felt very bored and boring to me, right? And I think that, like, that also comes down to, like, his voice acting in the early chapters come in. His voice acting in the early chapters is very, very bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, very, very bad. He's, like, boring and just lame. But, like, you start to think about that more, and I'm like, huh. Like, he sounds hammy and crazy and like up there. Like, his voice acting and characterization really kick in as the game goes on. And you're wondering, like, why does he sound so bored in the beginning, right? I like to interpret it as like, yeah, obviously this voice direction was weird at the beginning of the game because everyone sounded weird, but you sort of think about like how he was putting on most of like a facade. To me personally, I think that's how it was supposed to be seen at first. He was putting on a facade because like he was trying to, you know, being a human, right? He's trying to put on this false, fake identity as a human driver. But once all that shatters, we know the true face of Malos. He starts to drop that and becomes more hammy and crazy. And his voice acting by David Mencken is really good. Like, he's so bombastically loud and crazy. I love it. And like, at first I looked at Malos, I was like, I ain't gonna think too much of him. He's just gonna be this big, bulky dude who's just like, oh, I'm better than you or whatever. Like, that kind of shit. Like, but like, Malos is like, he's evil. But like, you start to think more about Malos as like, you know, like, obviously Blades take influence from their drivers, right? And like, you see Malos take, like, obviously I don't know much about Torna yet, but I know like Malos was, you know, doing some crazy shit even back then. But like, you see how Malos is miserable, right? He doesn't know much about his own existence, and like when he meets the architect, and like you start to think like he has this identity crisis about himself, right? And like he's pulling his influences, right, from Jin and Amalthus, and like you feel like at the end of the day, Malos doesn't want to be evil, but he has no choice but to be evil, if that makes sense, right? Because you see how like the Aegis, like characters, like, you know, he's obviously an Aegis, but you see like how Pyra and Mithra, how different they are from when they were in Torna, how they are when being influenced by Rex, how they want to live and how they want to, you know, see the end of it all, you know, how they want to see more to life than what they wanted originally. But like, it's just like Malos, he's spending the entire game trying to figure out who he is, right? Who he is, what, like, it's just like, it just makes, I don't know, man, it's just like, I feel for Malos. Like, yeah, I don't root for Malos because, again, he's evil. He's evil. But at the same time, you're like, why? You know, like, he's wanting to know, why am I like this? Why am I doing this? He's trying to look for a purpose. And like, it's just so, it's kind of like a sad angle to Malos. Yeah, granted, he realizes at the very end that he was like, his purpose in life was to give Jin a purpose in life. And like, it's kind of, it's really sad, you know? Like, you show that he really cared about everyone at the end of it all. You see, like at first you're thinking like Malos is like this completely evil dude. Like, he just doesn't give a shit about anything. But yeah, granted, I don't agree with his actions throughout the story, but you really see that Malos really does care about the other people. He really cares about Jin. He really cares about the other members of Torna. And I really think that, you know, that shows more angles to his character that we probably wouldn't have seen ever if we haven't known much about him. And I really like how Malos was handled. I think that Malos being like a product of others' influences, you know, I think that's a good angle to work his character. Like, it works really well. And I really enjoyed Malos. The next villain up is Amalthus. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. Amalthus, of course, he was going to be evil. Even before, like, I knew that his whole plot twist was like, oh no, Amalthus is evil. I kind of saw that one coming. Like, he just looks the part. Like, he's like one of those characters like that just looks like they're up to some shady shit, and I think they just didn't hide it very well. I kept thinking, it's like, yeah, of course, Amalthus. Yeah, I honestly don't judge a book by its cover. But at the same time, like, of course, Amalthus was going to be evil. Like, look at him. He looks evil. But, yeah, I just feel like that was a little bit unfair of me at first. I was like, of course, Amalthus is going to be evil. Like, of course, he's going to, like, turn out to be the villain, you know? Like, of course, he's going to turn out to be the bad guy. So, like, just, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, Amalthus, like, he's not like that kind of character who just became evil for the sake of being evil. Like, a lot of bad shit has happened to him to turn him to the way he is. Again, this doesn't excuse any of his actions. You know, he's caused a lot of bad shit and killed a lot of people. It doesn't excuse any of his actions. But at the same time, he's just like, you see how he's trying, like, he was trying to actually be a generally nice person, but, like, you know, he lost his mother. He actually helped a person who was, like, wounded, only to catch the person who he helped just trying to kill a person. He just, like, he's seen the state of the world as it is and just became just like, he just became ruined, right? It just ruined him completely. Like, the world is completely shit, right? And even when you try to help people, those same people that you helped can easily backstab you. And like it just triggered him so badly off all the dumb shit. And he like, keep in mind, Amalthus, like, okay, keep in mind, the World Tree is in space, for Christ's sakes. And freaking Amalthus was so wanting to know why the world was the way it was so badly. The man climbed to space with his bare hands and feet. You can't tell me that's not like the saddest thing ever, right? That's so sad though. Like, but he was a generally nice person. But like, it just showed that, like, even when he tried to help all these people, like, they're not gonna show the same kindness back to him, right? That kind of thing. Like, and then like after a while, he's like obsessed, right? He's just like, oh, this is all about me. It's all about me. This is my plans. This is what I'm gonna do. Become a god, you know, all that kind of shit. I mean, I really didn't think of much of Amalthus. Like, he's not the kind of character that really stuck out to me personally. You know, I just believe that, like, you know, I get what he's going for, but he's just not, like, you know, he's just not a character that I personally like compared to the other characters. But at the same time, I really understand why he does the things he does, why he's the way he is. And even though he's not my favorite villain, I really believe that he does a good job for what he's meant to do, you know. And like, seeing how he just chews up the scenery at his final boss battle, I'm just like, yep, this is Amalthus. His final form actually looks pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. His final form actually looks pretty sick. And like, I like how he just you know, turns the idea of the series on its head like that. And I think that's really cool. I really like him. And his final words of, like, you know, Father, why don't I call? Why don't you why don't you answer when I call? And like, seeing his mother in his last moments, it's just like, it's kind of just seals all of it for me in regards to Amalthus. Now, I'm not a fan of his design. I'm not really a fan of him, but I really like how they handled Amalthus, and I really think he's a very good character for what he is. You know, it's nice to see how, like, he's the true villain of all this. Yeah, Malos, who's like, you know, the villain, but like, Amalthus is the villain. Like, he's the true bad guy. He's like the real bad guy. Even though he's not the final boss, he's the guy who set everything in motion. I think that's pretty good on his end. And I'm not going to even bother split these guys up in their own section. I'm just going to lump the rest of Torna together in one section, that being Akos, Patroka, and Mikhail. I don't like these guys. I don't like any members of Torna besides Jin and Malos. Let me start with Akos. I think I hate Akos. Akos is like the single character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that I actively hate. I don't like this guy. I don't like his characterization. I don't like his voice. I hate his design. I don't like him. He's by far, like, I just hate him. I hate the character. He's so annoying. He's like that kind of character who's like, oh man, you know, like everything's gone to plan. Like that's those kind of guys who just like, you push up their glasses and think they have the situation won. I hate those kinds of characters. I hate those smug, in-your-face kind of characters that you just are not funny. Just like those smug characters you just want to punch in the goddamn face. I hate Akos. He's the one character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 I just cannot stand. I'm not even going to give him any more of the time today. Moving on to Patroka. Patroka's weird. Like, I don't particularly like her. I think her design in-game looks ugly. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I looked at her, like I saw her, like, her picture, like, right? Like, you know, obviously members of Torna are drawn by Tetsuya Nomura, right? Like, she looks good in her portrait, but like, look at her in game, she looks really ugly. I'm not gonna lie, she looks kind of ugly in game. She just looks like, that's the one character that just didn't translate well from like picture to like in game. She looks really ugly. So like, you know, that's already a knock on her. And then like, her voice delivery is so weird, man. Like I know voice direction is kind of weird in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but like, the way she speaks is so weird. Like, every time she gets an opportunity to talk, it's off in every sense of the word. When she emotes, she's not able to emote. When she's supposed to be quiet, she emotes. Like her voice direction is literally all over the place, and her voice actress I just don't like her. I don't like Patroka either. I just don't like her either. And then last is Mikhail. Mikhail, I didn't even really think much to it, like, at all. At the end of the game, they started showing more of his character, like, you know, his, like, you know, him and his relationship towards Amalthus. But it's like one of those things where, like, it's too little, too late at that point. Like, I think he's by far the most likable member of these three. like Mikhail. Like I kind of enjoyed some of his antics, and I like to see more of them. But I don't know, man. Like it's just the other members of Torna kind of suck. Like I'm not gonna lie, Jin and Mouse are probably the highlights for me in this case. Like Mikhail's better than Petroka and definitely better than Akos. I don't like Akos and Petroka. They're just terrible. They're just like the worst characters in the game, you know? They're not threatening in the least. I don't like them. They're just like the Team Rocket. Like they're the Team Rocket. And like actually that's an insult against Team Rocket, because Team Rocket is actually fun characters that have like their own development and nice. And like maybe these characters get better in Torna. I don't know. I know Mikhail was in Torna. I haven't seen much of him yet, but I think they said I brought some stuff up here. I can't remember, but I don't like any other members of Torna. They just suck. I don't like them. They like again, Jin and Malos are like the highlights of Torna. They actually have a lot of good characterization, and they're very good characters. I really like them, but I don't know, man. Like Akos pisses me off. He's like you can remove him from the story and nothing would matter. And I think like when you start saying stuff like that, that's when the characterization is really bad. If you just remove Mikhail, Petroka, and Akos, nothing would change to me personally. You could have like replaced them with any other 3 members of like any other parts of the game, and I probably would have liked them more. But I hate Akos, Petroka sucks, and I don't like Mikhail. The end. Like again, I just don't like them. I don't want to spend this whole segment saying that again and again, but the other members of Torna are like terrible characters, I'm not gonna lie. And the last villain I want to stuff on this list is Bana, Chairman Bana. I don't know what to feel about Chairman Bana. Like this game has like this whole deal where like you go into More Ordained, you go in the factory, and they're building like this new artificial blade, like a Giga Rosa, and I think it was chapter 4. I might be wrong. I think this might have been chapter 4. But like the main villain of chapter 4 is Chairman Bana. And like I'm like, okay. And like it kind of, I don't know, like his voice actor Steven Churchlow, I can't remember his name, but rest in peace. I heard he passed away, so rest in peace. His voice work for Bana was very, very good. I will say that. His voice work was like over top and hammy. Bana was really good. Bana the character sucks. You know, Bana the character sucks. It was kind of like, why are we doing this now? This game's like after like the death of Van Damme and like all this serious shit, we gotta deal with like this tiny Nopon who's like in this giant artificial blade mech with a giant head with silly music playing in the background. Like, this is the worst whiplash ever, and it kind of just like, why? You know, like why is this even a thing? You know what I mean? Like, why? You know, this could have been like almost like, what a waste of a chapter. Chapter was very stupid. Chapter 4 was dumb, dude. Like, what the shit was that? Now we're going to the pros. I know I spent a long time talking about characters, but I can finally talk about my pros and what I liked about the game, and then I'll move into my cons, and then I'll move into my overall thoughts. Let's start with the pros. I think my first pro is like the world of All Rest itself. The world is so big and expansive, and there's so many little passageways and caves and side like shortcuts. It's crazy. And like I kept thinking like throughout the game I was playing this, so like, wow, this is a big area. Like I think the first area you go to is like I think Gormott, big Gormott area, right? You're running around. What's it? Yeah, it's Gormott. And you're running around, you're like, man, this area is freaking huge. You see enemies all over the place at different levels. And I think that's just insane to think about. You're in the starting area, and there's always this giant monkey moving around called Territorial Rotbart. He's level 81. And you're like, what the hell? Why is that even here in the beginning area of the game? And not only that, there's like level 40 enemies, 70 enemies. It's like everywhere you go, the enemy levels are varied, and I think that's really cool, because normally in video games, you're used to seeing like a certain enemy, and you're like, oh shoot, that enemy is about the same level I'm in this area. So like you go through each area, and the enemy's levels get progressively higher as your levels get higher. But no, in Xenoblade, you're just walking around, you're like, wow, I'm level 7, and there's just level 80 to 90 enemies running through the area, and I think that's really funny. It's not very funny when you get caught by them and you die and you're pushed far back into the map, but I think that's very interesting. Like, you just see enemies way above your punching grade, and I think that's really cool. And the world of All Rest is just really cool. There's like so many different areas and so many different landmarks. It's actually really cool. Like, the areas look really good. Araya is like the standout area in the game because like it's just so beautiful to look at. Now, I played the entirety of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in handheld mode, and I know handheld mode has really it makes the game look worse than it should look, right? And I've heard a lot of people say that. In portable mode, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does not look good. But for what I played of it, it looks really, really good. Even with the limitations of portable mode, I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 looks really damn good. Even with just the graphical sacrifices that it had to make to go portable, I think it looks really good. Even in that. But like, yeah, the world of All Rest is really good, really expansive. There's so many areas, there's so many little nooks and crannies you can go to, so many different enemies, so many different items, so much content, so many heart-to-hearts. It's like, the game is almost too big in some cases. Like, it's like, wow, man, how am I supposed to get from point A to point B? And like, yeah, I wish there was like an option to give you like faster transportation outside of like, you know, maybe like a vehicle or something, like, you know, like, or like, you know, give Rex some skates, you know? Give Rex some skates when he went Master Driver so he can go faster or stuff like that. I just wish like traversal across the worlds was faster, but the worlds are like very huge and expansive, and I really like it. I wish there were some areas that did have landmarks that definitely needed landmarks. There's some parts in the levels where like you feel like there's a big gap from one place to another, and there's like no landmarks you could fast travel to over there. I feel like that will be also an issue, but I'll get into that when I talk about the rest of the game. But yeah. All Rest is a big world, and I love it. You know, it's so cool. And like, even after you've finished the game, and even after you've played through one area, you can go back and still find a bunch of more stuff that you just missed. And I think that's the cool thing. It's like, no matter how far in the game you'll go, you'll always find something new. And I think that's really cool. As I mentioned before, one of my other pros is characterization. I think the characterizations, it's really well done in this game. All the characters, I think outside of Dromark, really get a lot of good development and a lot of good content to them, especially in the heart-to-hearts, where you see more of these characters come alive. And granted, they couldn't find a way to shove the heart-to-hearts into the main story, but it's nice to have these heart-to-hearts to see what the characters are doing outside the main story, and like how they talk about the world, or talk about the government, talk about themselves, talk about some other random thing. And I think that's really interesting. Like, it's not just about them, it's about the world around them, and I think that makes the world of All Rest bigger than it is, and I really like that. Characterization for this game was done really well. All the characters are very well developed, all the characters are very fun. Again, all I mentioned before, the only few characters that kind of suffer in regards to characterization is Tora, who doesn't get much, Jormark, who doesn't get really anything. But yeah, those are pretty much the only two characters that kind of suffer in regards to characterization. Everyone's like really, in the main party at least, everyone's fine. Like, everyone else is really fine in regards of like, you know, stuff like that. And another pro I have is the amount of content in the game. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is just spoiled. It's like the game is spoiling me. Like, you have all, okay, how do I start all this? How do I get all this into like context here? Okay, so you have all just the combat in general, right? I think I'm gonna lump this into my pros about the combat. You have the combat, which is like very expansive. Like, it does not get old because there's a lot of ways to play around the combat. There's also the world itself with all the little nooks and crannies where you can find new things in. There's the blades, which you can pull from the gacha. There's like a bunch of blades. There's also a bunch of blade quests. A bunch of blades where you go leveling up their affinity shards. Like a ton of items to get, a ton of items to craft. More parts of the world to explore that you even know before. A lot of cutscenes. Like, there's so many things to do in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that, like, a New Game Plus is kind of... Like, there's like a lot of things you can do even after the game's beaten, because like, there's a bunch of new things that open up for New Game Plus, and I think that's actually pretty cool. I think that's really cool. Like, this, I heard, like, you know, there was like a little bit of troll developments on this game because Monolith Soft was working on Breath of the Wild, but even when they did that, they still packed a lot of stuff into this one game. It's insane how much shit there is in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's almost overwhelming. Actually, it's pretty overwhelming in general. Like, it's just like there's so much shit in this game, and I think that's really cool. I like the game rewarding me for exploration. I love it when those games do that. It's like Shin Megami Tensei 5, where like the game really awards you for going out of your way to find other things. Now, granted, sometimes exploration in the game is not the best. There are some things where like I'll get into that in my con section that sometimes hinders the exploration, but I really think that the exploration and the amount of content in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is insane. Another pro I have is the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this game is like unbelievably amazing. Like I can't even get my words in properly about how amazing this game's soundtrack is. So let me try to like get that in my head. The composers Ace, Kenji Hiramatsu, Yasunori Mitsuda, and like just like all the other composers that worked on Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are just maddening. Like Xenoblade Chronicles, like actually I think just Xenoblade Chronicles and like all Xeno games in general just has a very amazing soundtracks. But I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is probably like the standout in regards to the Xeno soundtrack, right? Because like I like Xenoblade X's soundtrack made by Hiroyuki Sawano due to how unique it is. But like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has just like the best battle themes ever. Like I swear to God, like incoming, exploration, running, more Ardain roaming the wastes, monster surprise you, deathmatch with Torna, bringer of chaos ultimate, the battle theme, still move forward, crossing swords, those who stand in our path, counterattack, and there's also songs with Torna, like the battle theme for Torna. Like those songs are all amazingly well made, and I really just think like, damn, dude, like this game has no right having this bomb ass soundtrack. Even the final boss seems like the power of Jin, Beyond Hope and Despair, like all those songs, just like they're so good. Like just like I remember saying before, like this game sounds like Smash remixes of another game soundtrack. And no, they're just that damn good. Like the soundtrack for this game is just amazing. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has an amazing soundtrack. I think it has my favorite soundtrack out of the entire Xeno series, next to Xenoblade Chronicles X. I think it's just that damn good. One more pro I have, and that's the combat. Now, I won't lie to you. The combat for me at first was weird. Like, the idea of the character auto-attacking was something I was not expecting. Like, before I started playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or just Xenoblade in general, I kept thinking, like, I looked at gameplay footage, I'm like, okay, the characters are just pressing the buttons to do the attacks. But no, you don't even touch the damn controller at all when you're playing the game. You don't push the button, like, the character will auto-attack. I'm okay, I'm not understanding why I need to do that. But then, like, that's when the arts come in. You need the auto-attack to recharge your arts. You use your arts to recharge your specials. You use your specials to bump up the little gauge you have in order to, not only your party gauge to do attacks with or revive your party members, but you also bump up the gauge so you can do better level specials, right? Like, oh yeah, you have an art skill, you level 1 special, level 2 special, level 3 special, and then you can like just go ham, and then like if you get high enough with other characters in your party or yourself, you can put an orb on a enemy while also doing damage to them. And then if you get enough of these orbs on them, you can go into a chain attack where you can like burst their orbs to do more damage. You add to a damage ratio, and like the damage ratio gets higher and higher the more damage you do. And I think that's pretty cool because you can just do massive amounts of damage. Like if you get a good if you get a good orb combo going. Like I remember when I fought Jin and Amalthus, right? And I got them down to half HP, right? I got like 5 to 4 orbs set up on them, and then I got them to half HP. I was like, oh man, this boss battle is going to take forever if I got to do more damage. And so we bust out like your characters, you start slaying their orbs, and then like it just gets crazy. Because like you could just take out half their HP if your damage ratio is high enough. You get good damage ratio high enough with the orbs, and if you get enough orbs destroyed, you go into a full burst where you can just do even more damage. I think that's just insane. It feels so satisfying putting the orbs on the party on your enemies, because like you feel like you put on all the work and you can slay the orbs and then like you just do massive damage. It's crazy. Now at first, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is very slow with the gameplay. Like, I'll get into that in my cons section, but I want to say that the combat doesn't really kick in until way later in the game. It took me 70 hours to understand how the combat even worked.
right? It took me 70 hours to finally actually get into the groove of the combat. And even then, there are some points in the game where they just take that away from you. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I'll let you get into it. And I'll get in that in a minute. But yeah, I will say the combat is actually really satisfying and really good. Something that I don't like about the combat is like, you get into a combat and it's hard to run away because even when you get enough far in distance away from an enemy, they can still kill you, right? Let's say I was in the combat, I was like, okay, I'm running through like More Ardain, right? And this level freaking 80 enemy comes up when I'm trying to go down to like the lower levels of More Ardain. I'm walking around, I'm like level 40 or whatever, and it's level 83 bird enemy shows up. I'm like, okay, let me get away from it. It saw me. Because, like, you know, sometimes in combat, you get to a situation where, like, enemies encounter you. Sometimes you can walk past them. Sometimes they'll be aggressive and hit you or whatever. And you're like, okay, I gotta get the hell up out of here. So I'm running away, and then, like, the enemy just kills me, like, with a fireball attack or whatever, and kills my entire party, which means it pushes me further back in the map. And I hate that shit. I really hate that. I don't want to get to the cons right now, but I hate that whole thing where you're like, you're just trying to get away, and the enemy just kills you, and then just destroys all your, like, your movement progress because you have to go all the way back. I hate that. Like, but yeah, so far those are all of my pros. I think this game is actually really fun. There's a lot of content to it. The combat's really good and the music is amazing. So yeah. Now it's time to get in my cons section, and there's a lot I have to say about the cons. Like, again, I love this game, but it damn sure ain't perfect, and I definitely gotta talk about it. Alright, here we are at the cons section, and here's where I'm going to be very negative about the game. Again, I love this game, but there are some very bad issues with it. One of my main cons, and probably the one thing that killed my the enjoyment I could have had with this game even more, was field skills. I hate field skills. Now, granted, I get what they were going for. They're encouraging exploration, right? If you have blades with these certain skills and these certain abilities, you can explore more of this area and see more of the goodies that are hidden in this area. That's a cool idea, but field skills become more a hindrance than anything, because you could be walking and you see this big area. And you're like, oh man, look at that, there's something over there, and it's a field skill requires you to have an air jump, right? If you ain't get the necessary levels or the necessary blades to pull that off, you're not getting over there, right? And like on top of it, you have to equip all the blades to do that. And I don't like the idea of like, why can't I just, like, they could have changed it where you have all the blades in stockpile and then just use the skills from the menu, but no, you have to have the blades equipped to do that. You have to have the blades equipped to even use the field skills. And I hate it because sometimes you have the blades equipped, you don't have enough points for the field skills, or you don't have enough levels, and that means you just equip them for nothing, right? And like, you have to have specific blades with those field skills, because if you get over there, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can't do anything about that, so, you know, whatever. So like, that's the part, that one thing that sucks about the field skills, is because it just halts you in your tracks when trying to go into another level, like you try to go to another part of the world. I would prefer if they just gave you like a checkpointer, like have you kill an enemy to get past or something like that. I would have been happy with that, rather just these dumbass field skills. And on top of that, there's some field skills where you have to like go a certain area, right? It's like, okay, you use a field skill, like let's say I need level 2 super strength and level 2 focus, right? You use that, you go over, and then like you're stuck because there's another checkpoint where there's another field skill that's been used, and it's completely different because you don't have those blades, you can't get over there, so you're just stuck like right there. I remember this place in More Ardain where you have to climb up an area where you have to, like, it'll push you to another top of the area. You need 2 parts of field skills to get up there. You're like, okay, you're climbing. It uses the field skill that pushes you up, right? You get the field skill ready, you push it up. And then you get to another checkpoint, but you can't pause the menu, or you can't get on your, like, you swap blades out in the middle of being on, like, ledges and shit. So you have to go all the way down, re-equip everything, then climb back up for like 30 seconds. It sucks, and I hate field skills. I hate them. I don't like field skills in this game because it actively hinders me from enjoying the exploration of this game. I hate them so much, and like sometimes they work well. Most of the times they are just like an annoyance. Like I think like 75% of the time they're just the worst thing ever. I hate field skills. They actively go against the idea of the game of exploration. And I think that sucks. I really hate them. Like, honestly, there's times in the game where I'm just like, I'm enjoying myself, and I run into a field skill checkpoint, and it just ruins my enjoyment of the game right there. And I think that's what kills the idea of walking around the world, because, like, there are things that are actively hindering you artificially, you know, like an enemy could be and a boss being in your way of beating it, like, you know, I can understand, like maybe like there's like a level 50 boss, you're like level 35, but there's no way you're gonna beat that level 50 enemy. I can understand that. That means you can come back later and kill that enemy, and you know you can do it because you'll be stronger at that point. But the field skills, that's just like literally you have to get lucky with the gacha and be up to chance with that kind of thing. I hate it. And yeah, just field skills are probably like the worst thing in this game to me. Another thing I don't like is that there's no way of keeping track of things in this game. For example, like, yeah, there's like things of keeping track in regards of like let's say a quest, right? Like, oh, collect blank of this blank. Yeah, there's a way to keep track of that because you have the items in your inventory, but like, let's say if you're killing unique monsters or you need to kill a certain monster to drop a certain item, there's like no way of keeping track of that. Like, especially with unique monsters, because sometimes I want to like kill a unique monster. And like, you know, I want to look as like, okay, you know, where's this unique monster is? And I go all the way to the area, and then like, it turns out that I've already killed the monster. I'm like, well, why I spend like 10 minutes going all the way to this one area just to find out I've already killed this monster. Like, where they could just have like an option in the menu, it's like, oh, it's a beastie area of sorts, where you kill this certain amount of enemy, you kill this enemy a certain amount of times, you kill this enemy in this location, that kind of thing. It saves me from going all the way back to the unique monster. And like, yeah, I like the idea you can rebattle unique monsters again and again and again. I think that's very cool because there's some games that just won't let you refight boss battles, but like, there's no way of keeping track of what unique monsters you killed already, and I think that's a very bad problem because sometimes I just want to kill unique monsters and like I have no idea what I've killed so far because I can't remember, that kind of thing. So yeah, I really wish this game had like a little checkpoint system inside of it, outside of the Blade quest. I really think that's a problem with it. Another thing I don't like is the Blade gacha. Like, I know the Blade gacha is very, very polarizing, right? There's some people who think it's okay, there's some people who generally hate it. Me personally, I don't like it, and like I just don't like the idea of having to pull the blades through like the gacha mechanic. I would have preferred if like all the blades you could get in the game were tied to quests. And yeah, there's some blades you can't get through during quest. And like, yeah, I know sometimes you can manipulate the RNG with the gacha in order to get what you want sometimes. But there's just some things I just don't like with the blade gacha. Outside, like you get so many common blades, and yeah, the common blades do have certain good skills, so they're not like completely useless. But most of them, what you get are useless, right? And they take up your inventory. And yeah, you can get rid of them. You can get rid of them for like the boosters, where you can use to better your chances to getting better blades. But like, as they are, they're just like, their designs are terrible and they're just there, right? And like, there's just so many of them. And yeah, again, as I said before, some common blades give you good skills like Orb Master, which is actually pretty cool. But I don't know, man. I just don't like any of the common blades, and like the blade system is just kind of bad in general. Because like, yeah, I guess the game encourages you to play it multiple times to get better blades, but like, when I see the fact that Cosmos is in the game from Xenosaga and I can't get her without extreme luck, that's when you lose me, right? I would have rather had a very difficult side quest to get her and maybe kill a bunch of bosses than waste my time with the gacha and get lucky with her. And yeah, that's a satisfaction of getting with gacha, because A, you don't have to pay money to do the gacha, and B, like, you know, it's a satisfaction of getting it through luck, but like, it's just... Yeah, I get it. Like, some people's gameplay experiences will be different, and there are some blades you can get through the main story, like Vess, Aegeon, Rock, those kinds, Wolfric. But like, I'm just sitting here like, why? You know, like, why the blade gacha? Like, why? You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not really a big fan of the blade gacha. It's better. It's like way better than other gacha systems. But saying that doesn't really help. You know, I see people a lot of people when they say some things like, "Oh, this game does this one thing," or "At least it does it better than this." I don't like that whole statement because it doesn't really change anything. Like, if I played this game, right, and I played another game with a gacha system, I'm like, "At least it's better than that game." I'm like, yeah, it's better than that game, but it's not that game. It's this game. But yeah, I don't like the blade gacha. It's not really fun, and I don't particularly like it. I mean, yeah, there's some fun. I mean, there's sometimes I like it, but it's just a lot of sitting in a menu, like pressing the core crystal to unlock this. Skip the animation. You get a common blade. You go back, do it over and over again ad nauseum, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Another con I have, and this is not particularly tied to gameplay per se, but I guess it is the Spirit Crucible Elpis. The Spirit Crucible Elpis is by far one of the worst dungeons I've ever had to experience in one of these games. I hate it. Not only not only the point of the game where you're nerfed at it, you don't have Pyra and Mithra, which is probably my fault because I've been relying so hard on Pyra and Mithra, and they're like the best blades in the game. You don't have them, so you have to deal with the blades you have been neglecting the entire time. Granted, that actually helped me learn that I need to use Rock and other characters with Smash and characters with launch abilities, and that did help me learn that, but like, it sucks. Like, I don't like this place. You're nerfed for it. You're forced to use characters like Tor to get through it. And keep in mind, you don't have access to characters like, you know, Poppy Cutie Pie, which makes Tor actually really good. Then you're being nerfed, like, you know, the ether flow and everything. And then the whole dungeon is confusing. Don't get me started on those damn spire webs that knock you down to a lower area. And there's even a checkpoint that you can't even pass unless you have a certain blade with a certain skill. And like, I hate it. Like, the Spirit Crucible Elpis is by far one of the worst dungeons in the game. Like, not only it forces you to do the blade gotcha to get past in progression, the place is just confusing to navigate, and the enemies are just relentless there, and I hate it. That's part like 80 hours in. I made it to that level, and I was so close to just giving up on the game because it was so frustrating. I only had my best blades with me, and on top of that, the place is just a frustrating place to navigate. I hate it. Like, I hate it. Spirit Crucible Elpis. Hate it. Completely hate it. It's by far one of the most unfun places in the entire game, and it locks you out of progression unless you do the blade gotcha. I think that's probably one of the dumbest things it could have done, but whatever. And another con I have against the game is actually, you know, let me mention this before I get to my next point. You know how when you release common blades and you want to get the boosters, why can you only do it one at a time? I really wish the game gave you an option to release multiple common blades at a time, so you want to do it one after the other. I was like, oh, release this blade, 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 that kind of thing. And like, I really wish the game gave you more Merc missions, because like the Merc mission kind of thing, like leveling up, is kind of weird. Because like, you have to unlock the Merc mission, and like you get like a high like level, and then like you have to go like all the way back to Uriah to unlock more. And like, it's like, yeah, you give you the option to do all these Merc missions, but you have to go all the way back to Uriah to unlock them. And then you also get the common blades, you have to release them. You can only release them one at a time. I just really wish you could release them in multiples, because the process of releasing one at a time is just tedious, I just swear. But anyway, now moving on to my real next point. The very bad tutorials and the slow beginning. I've heard everyone I've talked to in every video I've seen about the tutorials has universally said that the tutorials are very bad, and I definitely agree. Not only do the tutorials don't teach you anything, they come at the most inopportune times. Like, I think the best example is like the first time you fight Jin and Malos, or I think it's Malos, I can't remember if Jin's with you, but like, the first time you fight them, the tutorial gets right in the middle of the boss fight, and then throws a bunch of shit at you at once. And then other parts of the game where like the tutorial says, oh, I'll teach you about that later, and it really never does. Like, you don't learn anything about the tutorials, because I'm like, what is it telling me? And even at the very end of the game where you're in the damn in the world tree at the orbital center, you're still getting tutorials, and I hate it. Like, you know, it took me 70 to 80 hours to learn how the game even worked. Even after watching all these videos, and even after like fiddling around with the game myself, it took me 70 to 80 hours to even learn how the combat worked. Now, once I learned it, yeah, it was pretty good, but like, it took me all that time to even learn how the combat worked. If I was playing this game straight from one day to another, it would have taken me 3 days straight. Like, I mean, like if it was physically possible for me to stay for 3 days straight playing this one game, it would take me 3 days to learn how the game worked. Now, yeah, I enjoyed the game and characters enough to stick around with it, and that's pretty much the only reason I stuck around with this game so long, because the music was great, the characters were great, the world was great, the combat was very confusing and very overwhelming. And the game does a poor job of teaching you about it, and it also comes into the pacing of the game. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Xenoblade Chronicles 2 doesn't kick in until chapter 3, and that's like about 20 to 30 hours of gameplay. About 20 hours or so. So, like, you know, a lot of people just say if the game doesn't grip you in the beginning, you might as well just not stick with it, right? That kind of thing. And again, it only stuck with me through the characters and the ideas of the blades and the terminology and like the world of all rest. So that's the only reason I stuck around for so long. But like, this game, as I was playing it, I could definitely understand why many people just wouldn't be able to stick around with the game. Like, why some people will buy the game for the first time and just not stick with it, because it's just so, not only the tutorials are overwhelming, it doesn't teach you anything, the gameplay is very confusing, and the pacing in this beginning sections is very slow. And you don't even get access to 3 blades until like, what, chapter 3, I think. In the game, you're just stuck with 1 blade the entire time, and that's just not a very good way to play the game, where you're one blade on. So yeah, that's that's a very bad knock towards the game, because like the game is very fun once it kicks in, but like you're stuck dealing with the slow monotony of it all until you get to that point. And I really think that's kind of sad, because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a very good game, but like this game it has a very high barrier to entry, a very, 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 very high one, a very high one. Like you have to have a patience of a saint to get through the rest of this game, and I really don't mean to exaggerate that, because I really like this game. But like, if people want to play this game for the first time, you really have a lot of patience, because if you're very impatient, you won't like this game. The game requires a lot of like getting into, and you're going to have to go to outside sources to even understand how the game works, because the game doesn't teach you anything about how it actually works. It just throws tutorials, and the tutorials are very bad. And the problem about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is this is all it's a very bad knock towards the game, because not only you can't even enjoy the game getting into it, you guys suffer through it for a little bit to even get to the good parts. And that's the sad thing about it, is because if one person playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the very first time, and they're not vibing with it because they're in the beginning portions of the game, I don't blame them. I just do not blame them. Like, even I at one point was confused. I was like, this game is weird. And like 10 hours, like not even 10 hours, but a few hours in or so, I just realized like, oh my god, this game is really weird and I am not having fun. But yeah. Yep, that's a problem against Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It starts off very bad. It starts off very, very bad. I don't mean this like as a bad, like how to describe it. I don't like the beginning of this game. Then I don't hate it, because like, you know, introduces to the world of all rest and the terminology and all your characters and all that junk. I get it, but I don't like how this game starts out. I don't like how it starts out. I don't like how it doesn't teach you anything. I just don't like how it starts out and how like so lost you are, right? It's not a very good introduction to the game, so to speak, right? It's just not a very good introduction, because so many people are going to be so lost. Like, I had to look up like 5 different YouTube videos just to understand how the game works, and even then I still didn't learn anything, because the people who were making those videos knew everything about the game and I didn't know nothing. So even outside help is like very questionable at best, right? So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was a very hard game to get into, and if people gave up starting the game, I can't blame them. I feel like it's hard for me to even recommend this game for other people to play, because like it's so weird getting into it. Like it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like having a treasure chest, right? A treasure chest with some treasure inside, right? But you have to go through a bunch of shit to get a key in order to even get inside the treasure chest. And when you get into the treasure chest, like, yeah, it's worth it, but like the journey you took to get that key feels more exhaustive than it had to be, right? That kind of thing, right? So that's what it feels like for me starting out in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The game is very slow paced, very slow. The tutorials are infamously bad. So if anyone got into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and just didn't vibe with it in the beginning hours, I legit don't blame them. I literally cannot blame them, because the game is not a very good. It's not a very good game starting out, but once it gets in, it gets in. It gets in. So if you have the patience to stick with it, please stick with it, because it gets really good as it goes on. But starting out, about the first, I think right up to like when you confront Jin and Malos and Van Damme's death, that's when the game truly kicks in. And keep in mind, that's like 3 chapters in. That's about 30 hours in the game. So like, it's hard to tell people, it's like, oh yeah, it gets so good 30 hours in. And for me personally, the gameplay didn't get good until 70 hours in. So yeah, I play a lot of JRPGs, in case you didn't know. But yeah, those are my main cons towards Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I don't have many, but those really drag the experience down a lot more than it could have. Now, keep in mind, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is not a bad game, but those parts really kill the experience that I could have, like a much better experience that I could have had. I can't really think of anything else negative I have to say about the game. I already mentioned field skills are being terrible. There's no way to keep track of things that are terrible. The Blade Gotcha is not my favorite. Spirit Crucible Elpis can literally go eat a dick, and the very bad tutorials and slow beginning is a very, very bad problem for the game. I think that's pretty much it. Also, I also mentioned like, yeah, running away from enemies is a pain in the ass. I don't like the idea of like you getting killed by something and you're thrown away back to the other side of the map. I hate that. I hate that so much. You make some good progress and then some enemy just ambushes you. I hate that. Like I know people like the idea of like high level enemies just getting them, and I think there's some merit to that. But I don't like the idea of like these like I like the idea of the enemies being there, but I don't like them ambushing me because I just feel like I wasted my time. I hate that. Like I hate this like no general way of like the enemy just randomly gets you, right? I feel like if I want to fight an enemy, I should be able to like if I get close enough to them, then the enemy should like turn on or aggro or anything. But like I gotta be far away, and it just looks level 99 enemy just hits me with a fireball and just kills me for no damn reason. I hate that shit. I know a lot of people may not like it, but I don't like that at all. I think it just pisses me off the most, man. Like making all that progress just to get thrown back to the beginning because some dumb random bullshit that you had no control over. I hate that. And it also hinders the exploration because you're walking around, you're like, oh man, it's crazy enemies, I better stay away from them. And then like one just activates and kills you. I'm like, what the frick? But yeah, those are all my cons against Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And now for my overall thoughts of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, for all its faults, for all its weirdness, I think it's a game that I will never forget for the rest of my life. The story is so amazing. These characters are so instantly lovable and very well designed. I think that the music is great. The world is very huge and like it really makes the world matter. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I know a lot of people may not like it. I know people might not like it, especially if they're fans of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I understand people don't like it for all the anime tropes and all the anime bullshit. Or maybe people don't like the character designs, or maybe people don't like the voice acting, or maybe people don't like the characterization. I can understand why you wouldn't like those things. But for me personally, I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a complete experience that I will never forget. I think these characters are very well written. I think these characters are very fun to hang around with. I think their voice acting is amazing. I think that they're all designed very well. Even Rex's salvager outfit. A lot of people ragged on him for having an ugly ass outfit, and for me personally, I've seen worse. Okay, I've seen worse. Rex is not that bad looking. I've seen way worse. So let's just move on from that. You've seen a lot of characters just look downright ugly. So Rex doesn't look that bad. And plus, he looks way better in his Master Driver form too. So he looks cool. All the characters look really well designed and very amazing. It's just like I've spent an entire game with these characters and I've gotten to know them a lot, and even the villains for its, characters faulted characters, like very bad characters like Akos. At least I felt that I wanted to punch him in the face, and I would rather have feelings for a character, whether good or bad, whether positive or negative. At least I felt something for the character. I felt like if Akos was a character that was just bland, I wouldn't feel anything for him. But like he was so instantly hateable and such a pathetic piece of shit that, and like I felt like I wanted to actively punch him in the face, and I really think that I really felt that. I'd rather feel that than nothing at all. Patroka was weird, but I'd rather get that feeling that she was weird and nothing at all, right? And Mikhail, that kind of thing, I'd rather feel something for these characters than nothing. And I really feel something for all these characters. For all the weird shit and the faults they have, I really think that playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has opened my eyes to a great cast of characters that will stick with me forever, And the story with these characters, seeing how Pyra and Mythra are overcoming their depression was really nice. Seeing Rex grow up from this humble boy to literally the savior of the world was pretty nice. Seeing Morag open up a little bit more and seeing how much she actually cares for the other party members, including Rex, and seeing how her relationship with Nia developed was pretty nice. Seeing Nia, how she was more standoffish and treated Rex like a kid, but now she fell in love with him, and see how cool she thinks he is actually pretty cool. Seeing Zeke and Pandora's relationship with each other was really wholesome. Seeing Poppy grow as not only just a character, but also literally through her other Poppy forms was actually pretty cool. like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a game that definitely deserves more love than it gets. Because, like, again, after I finished the game, I wanted to go look at people's fan perception of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I've never seen a game more divisive than this. Like, I know I play a lot of video games, but there's a lot of people who just either like the game or hate it. I've never seen a middle ground at all. And yeah, there's some middle grounds out there probably, but like, the middle ground is less vocal than the negative and positive ground. For me personally, I love this game. Even if it's flawed, even if all the bullshit I talked about in my cons section really hampers the experience for me, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was a damn good game. And I definitely believe it deserves more love than it got. I really believe that. And yeah, it was actually really fun to play. Granted, it took me literally forever to learn how the game even worked, but I think that's just, it was fun. It was fun. I'm so excited to play the rest of the Xenoblade games. I am so excited to play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I'm playing it as of this recording. Getting used to, because I'm jumping off of 2 and straight to 1, so yeah, it's going to get some getting used to. And I hope to play X someday. And also cannot wait for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I know a lot of people are buying the special edition for that game so far. I'm not going to buy the special edition, but I definitely am going to get this game when I'm able to. But yeah, I definitely want to play this game. I definitely want to check it out. So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was a really good game. A very fun game. I'm happy to have played it. I'm happy to experience it. I'm happy to talk to fans of the game. I'm happy to meet new people. I'm happy to see what other people think about this amazing game. And I'm happy to have talked about it so many times. So yeah, I'm not going to give it a score or anything. I'm just going to say Xenoblade Chronicles 2, damn good game. So yeah, I think that's everything I have to say, guys. I really think that's everything I have to say. I hope to see you all next time. So I definitely want to talk about the other games. I definitely want to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I definitely want to talk about Torna. I definitely want to talk about 3 when it comes out. So I definitely want to talk about all those. So, and also maybe other games in the Xeno franchise, like Xenogears. I'm definitely not going to be able to talk about Xenoblade Saga because I don't have the ability to play the game at the moment. But Xenogears, yeah, I can definitely talk about that. But yeah, I'll see you all next time, everyone. Glad you guys stuck around, if you stuck around this far. So peace out, everyone. Hope you all have a great day. I am out. Goodbye.